If you can't stop thinking about owning a home, Bank of America may be able to help. With our community home ownership commitment, you can get up to $10,000 toward your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less in select markets. Plus, up to $7,500 off your closing costs as a lender credit. Tap the banner to learn more. What would you like the power to do?
Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral are subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Hi, I'm Lauren with Ace Hardware. At Ace, we're committed to the best paint brands, including Benjamin Moore, Magnolia Home, and Clark & Kensington. With our best brand premium quality, huge selection of colors, plus Ace's award-winning service, you can be confident you're getting the best. Then, buy in-store or online for curbside pickup or delivery. When you want the best, remember Ace is the place for paint. Around the block, what you need in stock, with people who know their paint. Let your local Ace save you a trip with paint delivery right to your door.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Hi, Rose.
This is not just a consultation. This is a Walgreens expert pharmacist helping you decide if the RSV vaccine is right for you. Speak with an expert today. Walgreens.
Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
I can tell by your eyes that you've probably been crying forever. And the stars in the sky don't mean nothing to you. They're a mirror. I don't wanna talk about it, how you broke my heart. But if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? Oh, my heart. If I stand all alone, will the shadow hide the colors of my heart? Blue for the tears, black for the nights, feels the stars in the sky don't mean nothing to you. They're a mirror. I don't wanna talk about it, how you broke my heart. But if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? Oh, my heart. My heart. Oh, my heart. This so hard. I don't wanna talk about it, how you broke my heart. But if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? Oh, my heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I'd like to welcome the Agua Fria High School GROTC program. Would you please rise for the playing of the national anthem and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Colors. March. Forward. March. Back. Back. Back.
Please be seated. Well, first of all, I just want to welcome everyone for joining us today, and thank you for being here for our presentation. My name is Lisa Hegarty. I'm the Executive Director with the Litchfield Heritage Center, and we're so happy you could be here with us today. And I'd like to thank the City of Goodyear and their staff for partnering with us and allowing us to use this beautiful chamber here today for our presentation. This presentation is part of our Litchfield Heritage Center's Heritage Lecture Series, which explores our local culture and history. We do presentations on numerous topics. In January, we will have a presentation on the history of Luke Field, the precursor to Luke Air Force Base during World War II. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't know about us, our museum is located on the northwest corner of Litchfield and Camelback Roads, and we focus, again, on showcasing the history of the Southwest Valley and the immediate area, which includes Goodyear, Avondale, Tolleson, and Litchfield Park. In addition to lectures, we host classes, cultural events, and provide educational resources, and we have information when you exit our presentation today. We have a table set up along with refreshments and along with an opportunity to purchase Ms. Duarte's book. So please, after the presentation, stop by and learn a bit more. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speaker today. We're so honored to have such a wonderful and accomplished individual here with us today. Stella Pope Duarte is the author of Let Their Spirits Dance, a novel about a family reckoning with the harrowing memories of the Vietnam War, and a cross-country trip which leads to healing and discovery. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War, and Ms. Duarte's years of research and interviews of war veterans are the bedrock of this tale. Described as a magical weaver with a sure hand and a pure heart, and praised as an author who will enlarge humanity, Ms. Duarte's work includes novels, short stories, essays, a memoir, a bilingual children's book, and much more. She has won honors and awards nationwide, including a 2009 American Book Award, a Pulitzer Prize nomination, the Southwest Book of the Year Award, and a Book Sense 76 selection. Born in South Phoenix, Ms. Duarte was inspired to write by a prophetic dream of her father. She believes that writing, like love, begins from within, or it doesn't start at all. Please join me in welcoming Stella Pope Duarte.
Okay, is my mic on? Oh, it scared me. Okay. Buenos dias. How are you? Good morning. Is Gracie here? Gracie? Where? Raise your hand. Oh, there you are. Is your sister? Christina? Did Joe come? Okay, he's in Tucson, yeah. Okay, but you guys are here. Okay, the Cruz family's here. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right, it's an honor for me to be here with you because this book has meant the world to me. And just talking to veterans, learning what it is they went through has been very exciting for me. So let's get going on this, the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. And I would like to welcome you this morning as we share a significant milestone for Vietnam veterans, the official end of the Vietnam War in 1973, 50 years ago. We might think 50 years is a long time, but in the life of this little rocky planet we call Earth, which is 4.5 billion years old, it's not even a drop in the bucket. Yet the memory of war can last for centuries. So get ready to go with me on a journey with the Ramirez family and all America as we journey to the Vietnam Memorial Wall to honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country, something we should never forget. And I want to pause to thank Lisa Haggerty, who is the executive director of the Litchfield Heritage Center, for her gracious invitation here today. The city of Goodyear, Lane Reese, I don't know if she's in here, but they're working very hard for us. John and Dalton as well. Is Gloria Cuadras here? Professor Cuadras from ASU West? Oh, there you are. Are your students here too? Okay. Okay. You know how students are. I've taught university forever. They're always late. Okay. And you know what I want to thank Gloria for, Professor Dr. Cuadras, for all the work that she has done for the farm workers of this community. Thank you. I think we should applaud her for that. She's done a lot of work. Am I echoing, or is it just my mind? Because sometimes my kids said, "Mom, you're not normal." So, okay, but why don't they have a normal mom? Okay, so, and then I believe the students are here. Okay, they might be here later. A special thanks to Minnie Ron. She's over there trying to figure out how we can use the little square so you guys can make payments. She's over there. She's helped me a lot. I want to thank, of course, the Cruz family for coming here. Their brother his words had everything to do with why I'm standing here. And then I have a family, 2 sons, 2 daughters, 10 grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? They keep me busy. And they're all working and going to school. And I want to thank all of you. I see some people here that I know. I see some people from El Grupo. Daniel's there, his wife Mona. I don't want to start naming names because I want to forget somebody. But you know what? My friends and those who have stood by my side, they mean the world to me. And there's Carol right there. Because without those who care and love you, you can't do this kind of work. I'm serious. This is crazy work here. Going around all over the place. And now I'd like to invite all veterans to please stand so we can applaud your sacrifices and service to this country. Please stand. All veterans, please stand. Okay. Well, I've got some of you here anyway. That's good. That's good. And you know what? The others that didn't stand were the people that still stood with you, because you might have been deployed to Vietnam or you might have been deployed somewhere else, but those that you love were still there. Distance does not corrode love. Love goes anywhere instantly. Instantly, love is there. So those family members who didn't stand up but are still there for the veterans have been there with you also. So I thank them as well. So now let's go to the spiral staircase. And there's my dad walking down Washington. Thank God somebody snapped his picture, you know. And he's all dressed up because he had his own little construction company. And he, you know, was going downtown probably to do some business. So the picture that you're seeing there of that spiral staircase, that's the dream that set my writing life into motion. So I was in my 40s when I had a dream of my father, and this was 1995, and my dad shows up to tell me something very important. I was in a building, I was lost, and I came down a staircase, and at the bottom of the stairs was my dad, and he was waiting for me. So he took me by the hand. That's how lost I was. I was still trying to change a man. Don't ever try to do anything like that. Women, don't try to change a man. Men, don't try to change a woman. Okay, so I was all over the place there. So my dad takes my hand, leads me to the spiral staircase, and he starts telling me, "It's right there, mija. What you have to do next. It's right in front of you." And he kept saying that. But when you're spoken to spiritually, it's not a voice. It's not a voice. Do you hear voices? I mean, I'm already crazy enough. Why are you asking me that? They say, do you hear voices? No. When you're spoken to in dreams or spiritually, you receive it in thought. So my dad kept telling me, it's right there, mija. It's right in front of you. What you have to do next. Well, I woke up, and that spiral staircase was beautiful. Salmon colored, lost into the heavens, beautiful sky. So I woke up. Did I know what the dream was about? Of course not. But God sends us dreams so we can find meaning in them about who we are. Okay, and I've learned a lot about dreams. Actually, I've written a book about dreams. So later on, as I was researching, I had, are you ready for this? 3 jobs and 4 kids. Okay. I was a therapist at a counseling center. I was in the Phoenix Union High School District, head of counseling, and I was teaching university classes. So I was really, really always doing work. So one night I was writing stuff for my classes, and all of a sudden I thought of that dream, and I wrote it down. When I got to the part where my dad says, "It's right there, mija. It's right in front of you what you have to do next." And the kids were asleep. I was all by myself. So I said, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, because people who know me know I'm up at all hours. So I said out loud, "You mean I'm a writer?" And it was as if every cell in my body cried out, "Yes, that's what you were born to do." And we all have purposes for being born. I believe that one of the main reasons why I was born in this country at this time was to write "Let Their Spirits Dance" and to honor our veterans on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. Okay. So here's the draft and Vietnam. Okay, that's my first book, Fragile Night. Some of the families in it, right away my ex-husband said, "Did you put me in it?" Never mind, I changed, the name. Is that you? Is that your name? No, okay, then it's not you. So things started moving real fast after the dream, because God doesn't waste any time with us. So my first book, Fragile Night, I wrote a story of Cobra. He's a Vietnam veteran. His real name is Carlos, but his nickname is Cobra. And the story of Cobra searched my soul and made me want just this awesome desire to write something about the Vietnam veterans as I wrote the story of Cobra. So in the story, he has PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And a lot of our soldiers, when they come back, they start reliving something that happened in combat, and that's PTSD. In our world, in Latino world, it's susto. Susto is a trauma to the soul. So our curanderos, our healers, will heal the soul, and that's part of PTSD. So it's 20 years after the war, and that night in the story, his wife has had it with Cobra. Because every time it starts raining, he goes outside to the patio and starts looking at the rain. You know, like he's in nowhere, and he's having a PTSD experience. So she says, you know what, Carlos, I'm sick and tired of this. Sick and tired of how you act. So she has a fight with him, his mother, everything. She starts packing her bag. She says, I'm leaving you. I mean it. I'm divorcing you. I am leaving. And he says, Sylvia, please, don't do that. And the rain haunts him, okay, because that's when his friend was killed. And I went to Vietnam. It rains a lot there. I found that out for sure. So that night, they come to terms with the PTSD. He says, look, Sylvia, please don't go. Please don't go. Okay, okay. Let me tell you about it. He was only 18 years old. He turned away at just that moment when his friend was right behind him and the enemy shot his friend. All those years he blamed himself. And they come to terms. They have an aha moment, and they come to terms with it on that night. And I tell people, whatever you are willing to confront, even if you confront it crying or screaming or afraid, whatever you are willing to confront will have no more power over you. Did you know there's a lot of draft cards online? Oh God, yeah, stupid draft card. And the draft was on. Johnson instituted it in 1964. But this one fascinated me because it says this guy, Alex Derek or something like that, has been finally classified and recorded in Class 1 Division A. So I guess there was something wrong with him. They said, that's okay, we'll fix it. And we'll send you to Vietnam. Because they wanted troops up there. They wanted troops. All right. And then here is reliving the Vietnam experience. Here's a picture of Vietnam soldiers of all races. And as I began to relive the Vietnam War through the story of Cobra, I started to feel this immense desire to write about it. I have a master's in counseling. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a documentary because I don't think we've ever mourned Vietnam, the stages of mourning. And then a dear friend of mine, John Gutierrez, he couldn't be here today, but he says to me, Stella, you know what, you're a powerful storyteller. Tell us a story. I said, a story about what? Tell us a story about a family who lost their son in Vietnam. Bingo. Thank you, John Gutierrez. That gave me the idea for the story. All right, now this is what we saw on TV. Here are photos at dinner time. How many remember this? Remember you could go, right? Am I right? You could go home. And there on the television were the guys fighting in the war. And it was horrible. They don't do it like they did during the Vietnam War. But there they were. And then what happened was the guys told me, I interviewed so many veterans. I went twice across the country, interviewed veterans all over the place, as well as in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. I interviewed the ones who had fought along with the American troops. So I left no stone unturned. But the guys told me, you know what, Stella? We were running around in circles in Vietnam because there were so many protests. They would tell us, go up to that parameter. And they would say, don't go up to that parameter. We're not supposed to be there. So they turn around. They said, so at base camp, we sometimes separated into like Mexican, Chicanos, blacks, whites, like that. But when we were on the battlefield, this is what the guys told me, we fought for one another. That's the only thing that made sense. When we were on that battlefield, we were Americans, and we fought for one another. And then I have the cruel reality. You remember this too? Right? The coffins coming home. Oh my God, the coffins coming home. And it was a horror story. I was in high school. I graduated from high school at 17 years old because I started school at 4 years old. In those days, you could start school like that. And I would see these coffins. I mean, I was like, oh my God. They don't allow that anymore. They don't allow the coffins to be seen like that. And then the protests for against the Vietnam War were everywhere. We were in Vietnam in the late 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and finally the 70s. And there were also others there. The French were there. The Japanese were there. Everybody was trying to take control of Vietnam. And there were protests everywhere. I know that I'm telling something, right, Irma, that you remember. We relived all this stuff. And the one that you see right here at the upper right-hand corner, that's the march in 1970 by the Chicano Nation against the Vietnam War in East LA. They were sick of all of our guys going down there, some of them never coming back at all, and they were attacked by the sheriff. In order to do that scene in my book, I walked the whole length of what these people walked that day, all the way to Laguna Park, which is now called Ruben Salazar Park. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. But protests everywhere. When you hear the word Chicano, that comes from the ancient name Mexicas. When the Spaniards came in 1519 to what is now Mexico, they called those indigenous people the Aztec. They did not call themselves the Aztec. They called themselves the Mexicas. So from that name comes the word Chicanos, with a CH sound, Mexicas, Chicanos. And they used it during the protests. And I consider myself a Chicana, born on this side of the border with relatives still in Mexico. And then where did I get some of my characters? Well, there's my beautiful mother, Rosanna Pope. She's part Irish. And she becomes Alicia Ramirez. She becomes Jesse's mother. My veteran in the book is Jesse Ramirez. And my mom was very much like her. She was a very prayerful lady, and she would never get on an airplane. That's why the family in the book goes in cars, folks, all the way to the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And then Tata Pope was, in the book, he becomes Tata O'Brien. And then Jesse, of course, has two sisters, Teresa, the oldest sister, that he's very close to, and then he has Priscilla. And so sisters, there's my little sister, Lupita, and she says, "Are you still showing that picture where you cut my hair?" I said, "Excuse me, you cut my hair too." You know, so we were the last two in a family of 8 kids. When we had a grudge on one another, then out would come the scissors at night. And in the morning we'd have a new hairdo. So this was insane. And then here are more pictures. And people ask me, "Stella, where do you get all, your material?" You just look around you. There's characters everywhere. And I was the 7th child. So here I am. And I won a little beauty contest in the barrio. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, that was a big deal. And actually, I think I got 2nd place. 1st place was this girl who was always pushing me around and making me fall and teasing me. But we heard through the barrio grapevine, that the reason she got 1st place was because the judge, this guy, was dating her mother on the side. And so this was el mitote, right? The gossip of the barrio, man. It's rich. I love it. And so, I think I was born, I think in my mother's womb, I was writing. I'm serious. I'm that kind of a person. I was telling stories all the time, and nobody could stop me. everybody would look at me and say, what's wrong with her? I mean, instead of saying, she's so creative, they would say, is she all right? My goodness. So I tell you, now kids are better understood. So La Sonorita Barrio is my barrio, and it became El Cielito in the book, Let Their Spirits Dance. And El Cielito means little heaven, little heaven. And here you have more scenes of my barrio, and it becomes El Cielito. There's my mom's house, right up on the top there, top left. But it didn't look that way. It looked different. Mom, every step you took in my house, there was something green. Mom was true to her Irish roots. Everything was green, you know. And then my godmother's house next door, and I was named after her, Stella. And then you see an alley. Whoops, no, let me go further here. Let me get some more pictures up here. And that's the old entrance to the house. And there's my beloved sister Rosie sitting there. Let me talk about that alley. You see that alley? Okay, we didn't have a block fence. We had a chain link. Okay, I'm going to tell you real quick. On one dark night, my mom was throwing the garbage out there. Mom was a very prayerful person. It was very normal for us to go into the house and say, where's my mom? She's in her room praying. That was normal for us. Oh, okay. Oh, La Santo Niño, you know, the little Christ child, the whole deal. So one night she was throwing garbage, and she says, and she told this story over and over again. And every time she told it, she was very passionate. And she would say, Mija, I saw this light. It was a very bright light, but it didn't hurt my eyes. And then on the telephone pole, Mija, I saw Jesus Christ hanging on the cross. Mija, I saw him so clear. That's the way she would tell the story. And so she walked backwards all the way to our kitchen door and because she was seeing Jesus Christ. And she told it so many times. And you know, I believe that my mother saw Christ there. Many years later, she lay in my home dying. She wanted to come with me to die. And about 2 weeks before her death, she said, Mija, I'm seeing the light again. I said, what light, Mom? Don't you remember? The light that I saw in the alley. It's real bright, but it didn't hurt my eyes. And then she connected the dots. We're on this earth to connect the dots of who we are. If we miss that, we miss everything. She connected the dots. She said, oh, it's God. God is the light. And she says, and that light has love. And she went like this, for each and every person, Mija. Wow. So God's love followed her all the way through her life to her deathbed. Okay. And here's my last photo of Mom. And you see me there with one of my grandchildren. That's the old house that Mom had. And she, you see a little bit of her apron. Alicia Ramirez is going to wear her apron. Oh, yeah, man. I almost made her like my mom exactly. And, you know, in case something tears, she always had a big pin for you. She said, you don't want to be standing there naked. I looked in the mirror. I said, I don't want to be standing naked anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So then, and then she had rubber bands. You know, put your hair up, Mija. Don't let it catch on fire. So, and then more El Cielito. You know, you see the actual street where I live, Pima, some of their relatives. In the house where you see the car, 12 kids lived in that house. I know because I used to make them do stories. Oh, yeah. I would tell them a story, then they had to perform it. And I would give them one cupcake for 12 kids. But they would still do it, you know. I'm going to give you a cupcake. Yeah. All right. And then Chico's Bar. Okay, the alley was right next to Mom's house. And then the bar. And behind the bar, the family lived there. So it was always exciting. I mean, the drunks were always doing something, you know. And everybody passed by the alley. The good people, the noble people. We were a world. And yet mainstream America said that my little barrio, it became El Cielito, was one of the worst slum areas in Phoenix. That's how they defined us. And my mom said, why are they saying that about us, Mia? We're not poor. Nobody, how shall I say, you don't have to accept what other people say about you. So, all of a sudden, guess what? When the book came out, woo, I started getting all this acclaim. They said, this book is a major American story. I said, it is? No, I'm an educator. I'm used to being kicked around in the schools. Anybody can come and say, I want to sue you, the superintendent. You know what I mean? I'm used to being kicked around. All of a sudden, I was getting acclaimed. Híjola. Woo. So I thought, all right, this feels pretty good. So then I got a call, First Channel. I've gone to a lot of TV interviews, the whole deal. First channel to call me was Channel 12. And they said, Stella, we've been hearing about you from New York City. We'd like to go to your burial. I thought, excuse me? Your burial. I thought, burial, am I dead and don't know it? I mean, what happened? So they said, Stella, where you were born. Oh, my barrio. Yeah, that. Okay. I said, come on down and I'll meet you there. So there we were. And they said, where do you want to take your picture? I said, in front of Chico's bar. It's a part of our life. And my mother said, there they are laughing again. And then it says on a ticket to the world. And then I said, don't put me in the newspaper without my mom's picture. So they put mommy's picture there. Isn't that neat when you can call the shots? And this is the Vietnam Memorial Wall. That was my first visit to the wall. I went there 6 times, twice across the country. And you know what? I had never even traveled anywhere. All we went was on Sundays, we went to the cemetery to play on the graves. I'm serious. We played on the graves, and they had a little hill. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. St. Francis, that little hill, where they have Christ, the cross, and Mary, and so forth. We'd roll down the little hills. Did you know that you can get 10 people in a car? I know, I was one of the 10. There was no seat belts. You had your feet on somebody, you know what I'm saying? So when I started traveling, that was new. I was in shock. I mean, half of the time with this work, I was in shock. What's wrong with me? I kept pinching myself. Am I really real? So then I found out that the Washington Memorial and the Lincoln Memorial are, like side by side with the Vietnam Memorial. First you see the Washington Monument, then at the other end is the Lincoln Memorial. And the panels are, the guys are put in by the date that they were killed in Vietnam, and then they're alphabetized. Okay, so that was my first look at the wall. And then I took several trips there. And this is my reverence and promises. In the story, Alicia, the mother, makes a manda. I'm saying it in Spanish because you're going to see the word manda. Manda means a vow to God, a vow to something that you want to do. She makes a vow once she understands that her son wants her to get to the Vietnam Memorial Wall. Once she knows that, she makes a vow that she'll get there. Okay, watch what happened to me when I went to the wall. And I had my 12-year-old son with me, and this gentleman who was a photographer, he was filming the whole thing. So I get to the wall. Oh my, there was another shock. Spanish surnames all over the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And I'm not saying there wasn't any other names. That's not what I'm talking about, because I'm Pope, so I'm part Irish and so forth. So everybody has wonderful meanings in our world. All these Spanish surnames, Gonzalez, Carrillo, Cruz, Zamora. And I'm like, oh my God! Tears, tears were flowing down me. And I told the guy who was filming me, stop, 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 stop filming me, stop filming me. And actually, my character, Teresa, that's Jesse's sister, she's the main character in the story, telling her brother's story. She is going to be at the wall at the end. And I'm not going to tell you the end of this book at all, because when my agent was in New York, they were bidding on the book, and they kept calling her. We heard that the ending of this story is dynamite. That's why I'm not going to tell you what it is. Some of you know because you read it. They kept telling her that. So in the book, Teresa turns around when she gets to the wall, and she's looking at all the Spanish surnames. And these were not even the ones that didn't use their Spanish surname. Maybe they used Pope or Booker. No, Kevin Booker, I just thought of him. Or some other name. But they were also mixed in with the Mexican people. And so she turns around and says, why did we let this happen? In the story, in the book. So this is a very important thing. You see me kneeling down there? I take this seriously. This thing that you make a manda, a vow, I knelt down in front of that wall with tears flowing down my eyes. And I promised the guys on the wall that I would tell their story to the world. And I kept my promise to them. Here are some facts and figures of the war. 3.4 million served in the Vietnam War. 191,000 with Spanish surnames. And that's not counting the ones that didn't use their names, Spanish surnames. 58,267 names are on the Vietnam Memorial Wall altogether. 39,996 were 22 years old or younger. PFC Dan Bullock was only 15 years old. And now you can't get away with that because there's too much media. They'll find out how old you are right away. But in those days, 997 soldiers were killed on their first day in Vietnam. Sometimes the energy of the first or last day is there in some mystical way. 1,448 soldiers were killed on their last day in Vietnam. 31 sets of brothers are on the wall. 8 women. Did you know that women are on the wall? Yeah. Some people do not know that there's 8 women on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. They were tending the wounded. Women were not in combat during that time. They are now. 244 soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor during the Vietnam War. 153 are on the wall. On January 31st, 1968 was what they call the Tet Offensive. And that was the celebration of the New Year of the Vietnamese people. 245 were killed in one day. And in my story, Jesse Ramirez, my character, is killed during the Tet Offensive. Because the guys thought there was firecrackers. No, they were attacking them. Okay. Let's see, where is it? Walking the walk, talking the talk. I had a Vietnamese tutor right here, Tom. That's Tom right here on the photo, the first photo there. And her and her husband came to my house, and they taught me Vietnamese. So for 3 months, because I wanted to get ready to go to Vietnam, and they came and they taught me. They were very patient with me. And a French man wrote the Vietnamese alphabet. He wrote the Vietnamese, alphabet so they could have their language. And it's based on the Latin alphabet, our sound. So whenever I spoke a little bit of Vietnamese in Vietnam, they said, you speak a good Vietnamese, you speak a good, I said same Spanish. Okay, so anyway. And then here are some more of my friends, and they're all wearing their aoyais. And I do have an aoyai, the long garments there. And then 23 hours to Vietnam. And I tell you that it's a long trip. I was not used to traveling. Later, I became a frequent traveler. My son, I dragged him along with me, my 12-year-old, because I didn't want to leave him with the teenagers, because I don't know about teenagers, but once in a while they go they go off into other things that they do. So I wanted to bring my son with me, and he had never been on an airplane the whole way. Are we almost there, Mom? Mom, are we almost there? No, son. Mom, Mom. No, no, son, we're not. Mom, these floaties that we're sitting on, will they really help us if we land in the ocean? Son, if we fall from 30,000 feet, we won't need them. Son, Mom, this is real important. This is real important. When the people go to the bathroom over there, where does it go? Okay, I'm done. So these were the questions that were asked of me. The streets of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City are like no other. I've been to very busy cities like New York. I just gasped when I saw the streets. And people in motorcycles. Look at how tiny those women are. You'd be surprised how heavy the weights of those buckets filled with food, articles, fish, and things like that. And I tell you, did you know I was riding around in motorcycles? Oh, yeah. With women, I was holding on to them. And I only saw like 2 or 3 street lights in the whole city. It's every man and woman for themselves. I was another shock. Okay. All right. And then, what else do we have here? Same TV. Okay, and here's one of these. See how tiny those ladies are? This is the South China Sea. And I asked the lady, can I hold, your buckets? And she said, you just called it. I said, yes. So I down I went on the beach. Those things are heavy. Look at those little ladies. They are such hard workers. I was stunned at the weight that she was carrying. And the reason I say same TV was after we went with a small group of nurses. And they said, well, we're going to take you and your son. Those are the last 2 people we're going to take. Because I had asked, does anybody know someone who's going to Vietnam? Kathy Munoz set me in touch with them, a friend of mine. So the main leader of those nurses was a man named Tom, and he had done 3 tours in Vietnam. He was very helpful to me. So after 23 hours on the airplane, me and my son came down to have some breakfast, at the hotel, and we're standing around there, and the waiters and waitresses are watching this big screen television. Guess what? Mexican soap operas piped in from Mexico City, ad-libbed in Vietnamese. And they saw me, and they saw the TV, and they said, you same TV. That's the way they said it. You Mexico. And I said, me, American, USA. Oh, say, can you see me, American? They said, oh, you same TV. And I thought, wait a minute, I got relatives from Mexico. I said, Mexico. And that's the way they pronounced it, Mexico. And they started hugging me and my son. I didn't know they still had a grudge on Americans. How was I to know? Another shock. Another shock. Well, some people, not everybody. Okay. And then, what else do I have for you? Family and temples, just real quick. I had other friends in Vietnam. They invited me to their families. They're very friendly. They want to learn Spanish. And here I am going into a Buddhist temple. You have to take your shoes off. There's a border around the temple. And as soon as you cross that border, you on holy ground, baby. You on holy ground. Their holy ground. So my son says, Mom, what are we supposed to do? I said, just watch what they do. Bow when they bow. I don't know, whatever, And I said, what you're going to do, son, is you're going to respect their religion and their culture, right? And that's how we teach our kids. You respect wherever you are. And here I am. I told you I had an aoyai. There's my aoyai, and there's my son and me at a bookstore. Okay. And there's Rosie. Oh, my God, Rosie, my sister. People who know me already know why I went like this. She was absolutely the love of my life, Rosie. And you see that funny word, anhara? That's a Celtic word. I'm trying to be a little more Irish, you know what I'm saying? That's an Irish word, and it means a soul friend. She was my soul friend. There's her daughter right there. Carol, raise your hand. There she is. And I want Carol with me all the time because she reminds me of her, of my beloved sister. So my sister loved me, fed me, nurtured me all the way through this work. And when the book was going to be launched, she was very sick with cancer. Carol knows that. She was very sick with cancer. And she said, sis, I'm going to be at the launching of your book because this book is going to go worldwide. And I know how important it is. I know. And she was there. Did you know that a person can love you so much that they can delay their death? Yeah, they can even delay their death. And she was that type of a person. We love one another. An anhara is someone that you can tell all your secrets to. And I could tell her all my secrets. And shortly after the launch of the book, she passed away. But she kept her promise to me. Carrot cake. Oh my God, her carrot cake was to die for. And I can't find any of it like that anymore. So don't tell me you make carrot cake because I'm going to be jealous. Okay, Aztlán, you're going to hear that word in the book. That's a place of origin. And that's where Teresa and Jesse's friend, Don Florencio, this is old mystical guy. He's a seer from the ancient world. He tells him about Aztlán. That's where we came from, he says, our ancient ancestors. It's a place of whiteness. It's a mythical land. And then as they travel to the Vietnam Memorial Wall, Teresa will sometimes ask Chris, have we passed Aztlán? Are we close to Aztlán? Because that's where we came from. That's what Don Florencio said to me. Where is Aztlán? Well, it was somewhere north. So the first movement of my ancient ancestors was not south to north. It was north to south. So nobody knows where the homeland really was, or if there was a homeland. But I say there must be a homeland because we long for it. We long for a place where we won't be criticized by our language or the color of our skin or any of that. We long for a place of peace and prosperity. And so they asked themselves, are we in Aztlán now? And then I mentioned the 7 caves in the book. And Don Florencio told the children, there's 7 caves where we came from in Aztlán. And actually they went all the way south, okay, all the way south. We don't know from what part of North America, all the way to what is now Mexico City. Right there in Zocalo Plaza is where they established what we now know as Mexico City, one of the biggest cities on earth. And that's where they established it. And I tell folks, you know what? We don't know how far north Aztlán was. We might be from Utah. I have no idea where we're at. I don't know where we're at. Here it is. Here's a prophetic message of Sergeant Tony Cruz. Stand up, Gracie and Christina. They're the family of my beloved Sergeant Tony Cruz. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And here is his picture. Isn't he wonderful? He was in the Army. And these are his prophetic words that he gave to the family and that I interviewed later and found this prophetic message. Someday, he said, I'm going to be famous. You're going to read about me in a book. I'm going to make history. Okay, let me tell you what happened. At that time, I was at Carl Hayden, and I was a counselor there. And I began putting out word that I wanted to interview veterans or anyone who knew a veteran, someone who had been killed there. And one of the first person to call was Gracie, right here, Gracie. We knew each other. Remember Gracie at Phoenix Union High School? So we knew each other. And she said, Stella, my brother was killed in Vietnam. I'll give you an interview. Okay, watch what happened. So I said, okay. I made another manda. What's a manda? A vow. I made another vow that I would dedicate the book to the first soldier whose family I interviewed who had died in Vietnam. So I went over to Gracie's house, and we're sitting there, doing the interview, and she starts telling me that her brother, Sergeant Tony Cruz, had told them And even to his mother, right? His mother, your mother, Maria Escoto, and to his best friend, someday I'm going to be famous. You're going to read about me in a book. I'm going to make history. And they didn't know what that meant. And I tell you, I had just a manuscript. I didn't have the book. I just had pages. And then I turned the page around and I showed her the dedication because I had vowed I'm going to dedicate the book to the first soldier whose family who died in Vietnam, and it was Tony Cruz. So here's a dedication dedicated to the memory of Sergeant Tony Cruz and all La Raza who died in Vietnam. We hear you. I would like Bill Gates, the highfalutin computer guy, to put that in a computer and tell me what the odds are that I would find the exact soldier who had said that to his family, and I had already dedicated the book in his honor without knowing his prophecy. And I bet you, all the millions and thousands of veterans out there, I double dog dare Bill Gates. Oh, are you hearing me, Bill? Yeah, because he's everywhere with computers. Double dog dare you to put that in a computer and tell me what the odds are that would come together. But it did. That's how miraculous it has been for me to write this book. Okay. And then the passion flower. Okay, we got the passion flower here. And after I had written the book, it was all written, I needed a great opening. Okay, so I always tell my students, don't ignore left field. If something is coming to you while you're writing and it doesn't make sense, pay attention to it. That's the writer. So I was working again at my house, all hours, whatever. I was always doing something. And all of a sudden I felt like doing something with my hands. And my kids were already, they said, Mom is nuts. She goes around talking to invisible people. She acts out things. We don't know what she's doing next. So I felt like doing something with my hands. So I got a piece of paper and I crumbled it and put it on my desk. I was head of counseling at Cesar Chavez High School. I didn't do this over there. I did it in my desk. And then I sat down and I looked at it. And then I got these words in my head. Like I said, if you hear voices, go get medicine. But if you're being spoken to spiritually, it's the passion flower your mom had when you were a kid. I thought, the passion flower. Passion flower. That's right, Mom had a big vine. That's right, it blew away with the storm. So I called Rosie, your mom, Carol, because she's a gardener too. She loved flowers, plants, everything. I said, Sis, do you know anything about the passion flower? She said, I have a book, and on the back is a big picture of it. It depicts the sufferings of Christ. The crown of thorns, the nails, the color purple, and so forth. I said, hold that book. She thought I meant for tomorrow. Oh, heck no. When you're like that, creative energy is huge. And when you're like that, you're going to do it now. So I went to her house, 10 p.m. She still lived in the barrio. She thought it was the cops. I was pounding on her door. And she opens the door and she looks at me. She thought somebody had died. And I said, where's the book? And she said, the book? Yeah, the passion flower. Okay. So she said I looked wild. Do you know that I don't know how I got home? You understand what energy is? You are energy, folks. You're energy. How do you deal with your energy? How do you collect it? How do you let it set you free? So I went and I wrote the words, the passion vine bloomed until late November, the year Jesse died. Amazing. And as soon as I wrote those words, the novel opened up for me like a gift. When you do what you're supposed to be doing, you're blessed over and over again. Okay, oh my goodness. I'm going to first time tell you about my entity experience. I better take a drink of water on this one. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, you ready? This is another one of those shockers. Okay. All right, we were ready to go to Rocky Point, me and the kids, okay? Everything was packed, and I was in my bedroom, laying down, trying to get some rest. And I had sent the manuscript to an agent in New York City named Loretta Barrett. I had read about her, and she had worked with Vietnam veterans. She liked women's work, and she liked my multicultural stuff. So I sent it to her, never really expecting anything, because I saw that she had a long list of celebrity clients. She was a very high-powered agent, book agent in New York City. And then I had a fellowship application for Stanford, because I wanted to go somewhere where I could write. I had, like I said, 3 jobs, 4 kids. I was going crazy. So I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So, okay, we were ready and packed for the next day to go to Rocky Point. So I'm laying on my bed, propped up, with my pillows, when all of a sudden, an energy came into the room like this. And people say to me, did you see anything? No. But I could sense this energy filling my bedroom like this. Was I afraid? No. When something like this happens to you, you have perfect peace. Trust me, when God speaks to you, perfect peace. No alarm. It's like we're talking right now. Okay, so they came in, and all of a sudden I heard these words inside my mind. A decision has been made concerning you in other quarters. And it was so clear that I said it out loud. A decision has been made concerning me in other quarters. But I didn't know what it meant. But I knew this. They knew who I was. And I say they because it seemed like there was a lot of energy, a lot of people that came in, spiritual people. And number 2, they had been given special permission to give me this message. And it was a done deal, whatever it was. Did I tell my kids next day at Rocky Point? Did I tell them about my entity experience? Are you kidding me? They already thought I was a nut. Know what I'm saying? Why can't we have a normal mom? I didn't tell anybody for a long time. A week after my entity experience, I'm laying again, trying to get some rest. Afternoon, the phone rings, and it's this brassy New York voice. This is Loretta Barrett from New York City. I'm calling for Stella Pope Duarte. This is Stella. And she starts telling me, I'm very impressed with your work. I'd like to represent you. I've been out of the country and barely got back, so haven't had a chance to call you. They were right. She was in other quarters. See, because I started thinking, why did they talk to me like that? That sounds like a soldier, headquarters, other quarters. And I said, wait a minute, was it the guys? Well, of course. Girl, what's wrong with you? But they told me correctly. The other quarters was Europe. My agent had been in Europe when she decided to represent me. The guys were right. You guys aren't so shocked as I thought you were going to be. Okay. And here I am with Loretta Barrett signing the contract. HarperCollins is one of the oldest publishing houses like Random House and so forth in New York City. And then we have, what else here? Oh, just myself in the Big Apple. I went there several times to do business with my agent and my editor. Okay, and there's the Statue of Liberty and so forth. Broadway, Times Square, and taxis. There's my daughter hailing a taxi. And then I was blessed to have Diane Reverend, who is one of the most famous editors in New York City, who became my editor through HarperCollins. And then she said to me, which Broadway show would you like to go to? I said, ándale, all right, gotcha. Broadway show, Phantom of the Opera, because, I heard about Phantom of the Opera. So she said, okay, here's tickets, and she gave tickets for me and the 2 kids. It was my son and my grandson. So I told the boys, we're going to go see Phantom of the Opera. And they said, we ain't going to no opera. I said, excuse me, do you know how much these tickets cost? We're on the front row, dummies. Okay, so we went to see Phantom of the Opera. Those two boys came out with their heads, with their eyes like saucers. There's nothing like Broadway. Nothing. Okay. Back to the guys. All through the writing of this particular book, I would go back to the wall, back to the wall. And the guys told me, go at night, Stella. That was the worst time for us. I went at night, shivering and freezing in February. I could have gotten a warmer climate. So it was always back to the guys. And then I would show them all the way down, the wall. I would show them that I was still working on the book. I was a woman writing a man's story. That bothered me because I was afraid I wouldn't get it right. So John Gutierrez, remember I told you he was the one who suggested this story. He counseled a lot of veterans. I said, John, would you read, the manuscript while I'm writing it? And two other veterans were reading it. And I said, you know what, Lord? If these veterans tell me this is wrong, this isn't the way it could have been. If they say that, I will not publish it. Guess what the veterans were saying? You did it, Stella. You did it. You got it. I said, even the scenes in Vietnam, because Jesse writes to his sister, and he talks about Vietnam. They said, even Vietnam. I said, okay. When the veterans are good with it, I'm good with it. So I would go and show them the book. And then Let Their Spirits Dance in 2002 came out in a hard copy. They brought me the book itself to my door because they wanted me to approve it or disapprove it. It was my mother's birthday. And then when 15 top publishing houses were bidding, I didn't even know what bidding meant. I thought it was like a game or something, but they were trying to get my book. When they were bidding, my agent called me. I said, you know what, Loretta, remember I told you that it was a dream of my dad that got me to write? Today's his birthday. Mm-hmm. And whenever something important happened, it was always like my mom's birthday, my dad's birthday. I don't manufacture these things, These things that were happening to me are true. So they kept calling my agent saying, we heard the ending is dynamic. The story did not end like I wanted it to. That's how powerful it is to tell a story. I was arguing with my characters. You're going to do it this way. And they said, no, we're not. And the mother, Alicia, said, not going to do it that way. So I finally thank God I gave in, because the ending is what makes this novel so special. And then they only had 22 books left, soft cover, at HarperCollins. You can get it through Amazon and so forth as well. And I also got for you today, Blanco the Little Donkey That Saved Christmas, my first bilingual children's book. I've told children's stories as an artist in residence for many years, and they love that book. It's in Spanish and English. Get it for one of your grandkids or someone in the family. And actually, the illustrator is an artist from Ukraine. She did all the illustrations. She did a wonderful job. I'm so proud to have Yulia Solotova as my illustrator. And she's now somewhere in Europe, but she's the one who did all the illustrations for my little Blanco book. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot something important. I got a call from a lady who owned a bookstore in Tucson, and she said, Stella, congratulations. I said, for what? She said, Let Their Spirits Dance just made the 76 book sense list. Did I know what that was? Of course I didn't. I didn't know anything. So I said, what is that? She said, every year booksellers vote for the books that are the highest quality in the nation in honor of 1776, when we became a country. And she said, and we vote. Congratulations. Let Their Spirits Dance is one of the 76. I said, are you talking about 76 books in the entire nation? She said, yes. That's why I'm congratulating you. Your book made it. So thank God for that too. Another shock. Okay. And then Mom's Altar, you're going to see Mom very devoted to La Virgen de Guadalupe. Some of you know what I'm talking about. The Virgen up there who appeared in Mexico City, 1531, and the Christ child. And actually, the mother and her friend Irene are going to do portable altars all the way to the wall. And here's the Santo Niño de Atocha. Let me talk a little bit about that, because the mother, on the night that Teresa, went to, I'm going to say, a club that was here in Arizona. How many know what the Riverside is? Mm-hmm. Right, Jerry? Okay. Now you know. It was a club. It was a kind of a wild club, too. I mean, they had good music, too. And that's where I met my ex-husband, SS, El Dato. I said in New York that I married SS, and I heard one lady saying, Stella said her husband's name was Ase. What is that? It's a thug. Okay. Stella married a thug? Yes, Stella married a thug. So anyway, I met him at the Riverside. But anyway, so the night in the book, Teresa goes to fight with her husband's lover, because he's a musician. He has a band and everything. And there's Sandra laughing at her. Oh, God, you're going to love that fight scene. I'm not going to even tell you about it. You're going to love it. And she fights. And then Sandra scratches her face. Well, my character, Teresa's a teacher. And she goes, oh, my God, this is Christmas break. The kids are going to see all the scratches on my face when I go back to school. So anyway, she's all worried. So she goes to her mother's house, all bloodied up and everything from the fight. And the mother says, Mija, what happened? Did Ray hurt you? She said, it wasn't Ray. It was Sandra. Huh, Mija? Did you give her a good one? So then, because her dad had 2 kids that weren't from her mother, right? So one of the agents had asked me, I can't believe that a man would have 2 children from another woman and still be living with his wife. I said, and you are from what planet? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so she goes there, and the mother says, I thought you heard Jesse. Mija, Jesse's talking to me tonight. And the mother's very ill, and she says, no, Mom, no, go to sleep. You're just dreaming. He's not here. Yes, your brother was here. I know my son's voice, but I don't know what he wants me to do. And there's a Christ child. She says, Ay, Santo Niño, help me. What is it I have to do? And then she gets an answer, because she realizes there's a wall with Jesse's name, and she's going to get there. And then they get close to $90,000 because they made a big mistake on Jesse's money in the story, and they'd accrued interest. So now they have the money they need to get to the wall. And the mother's always saying, Santo Niño, thank you, Christ child, for everything you're doing for us. Okay. And then there's Jesse's favorite cookie. Oh, my readers love this scene. Right? Some people are saying they love this scene at the airport. The Guadalupanas are there. These are ladies dedicated to the Virgin, Virgen Guadalupe. And they're praying for him and everything. And they're saying goodbye to Jesse. Chris is there, his close friend. And then all of a sudden the mother realizes that she has, do you like these? I love these. I can eat these by the bunches. And so anyway, she has in her purse the cochito cookie for her son, for Jesse. And she says, run, Teresa, she yells. I forgot to give Jesse el cochito. Run. And so she runs up to the place where the plane is boarded, and the guy says, we already boarded. They're already, the doors are closed. She says, listen, you have to give this to my brother. Look at my mom. She's going crazy over there. You got to give this to my brother. So he calls somebody on the plane. He says, I've got something for one of the guys who's headed for Vietnam. He says, what is it? A pig. A what? I mean, it's a cookie in the shape of a pig. Who's the guy? And then she says, Sergeant Jesse Ramirez. He says, Sergeant, oh, okay, for a Sarge, I'll do it. So out comes the stewardess and takes the little cochito into the plane. And later, Jesse writes to Teresa and tells her the guys were laughing their heads off when they saw that Mom had stalled the plane to Vietnam with the cochito. And when we took off, she said, we were laughing so hard because none of us knew if we were ever coming home again. And at when after the mother sees the plane leave, she collapses to the floor. And Teresa says, it was the first time I saw my dad pick my mom up in his arms like she was a little girl. And then, here's Don Florencio. My goodness gracious. And he was a tachiski from the ancient world, like a seer. He knows a lot of things that others do not know. Look at that funny word, Ixpetz, Ichpetz. It's an ancient indigenous word, and it means someone who has a third eye who can see into the manner of things and understand their meaning. So Don Florencio plays an extremely powerful role in the story. There's two travelers, two spiritual travelers with the family, Don Florencio and Jessie. So the mother's love is taking her to the wall, but the son's love is calling her there. Love is always a two-way street, So the scene that I'm showing there was one day I had this thought about bats. All of a sudden, I was writing about my classes, and then all of a sudden, I stopped everything I was doing. I opened another document, and I started writing about these bats out of a cave, and Don Florencio, the old man, yelling at them, and he says, "Go, you bloodsuckers, chupones de sangre," that means they're sucking blood. Go fly to Vietnam. Ahí está mi raza. And he says, and I cried big tears, an old man's tears, to make God look at me. I said, maybe if he looks at me, he will stop the war. So now, and you know that Don Florencio almost took over the whole book? I had to sit this old guy down and tell him, listen, Don Florencio, me and you are going to have a talk right now. You can't have this book, Don Florencio. This book belongs to Jessie. So he said, okay, but I had to put him all the way through. So I did. These characters are powerful. You think I'm lying, I'm not. Okay, La Llorona. She is our official boogie woman. She shows up in the story. The story of La Llorona is that she was a very beautiful woman. She violated the Latino taboo. You never presume to be better than anyone else. And she thought she was better because she was so beautiful. And she said, my husband will never leave me. I'm too beautiful. Guess what? He left her for another beautiful woman. All right? So then she had 2 children, and he only wanted to see the children. He would come to see only the children, not her. So she takes the children, runs to the river. She doesn't want to see them anymore because he doesn't love her anymore. Throws them in, and away they go and they drown. Well, now she wanted the children back right away. Right away, she wanted her children. She said, mis hijos, oh, what have I done? And so she cries every night looking for her children. They scared the bejeebies out of us with La Llorona. Anybody else scared with La Llorona? Yeah, there's some people raising their hands. And she's looking for her kids. And guess what? You look like them. So what did I do about her? Well, I sent her to Vietnam. And she seeks her children. She wrapped her ghostly shroud around Chicanos and other Latinos who were being ripped apart from their bodies every day in the war, and she was satisfied at last. All right. Now I want to introduce you to just a few more parts of the book. The dancing ballerina. Okay, the mother, Alicia, has this little glass cabinet, and in the glass cabinet, she has Jessie's medals. And Teresa tells her mom, we're doing a unit on Vietnam in my 3rd grade classroom. Can I take the medals to the school to show the kids? And so she starts taking off the medals, wiping them with her apron, crying. I never wanted these medals. I wanted my son back. And then Teresa's words, it surprises me that the medals and the ballerina are dusty. Crevices, I suppose, between the little doors. Everywhere there are crevices. Life is like that. Let me tell a little bit more about this one. When she was going to take the medals to the school, her principal, and he was Mr. A, everybody was trying to get rid of the principal. Every school I went to, so the principal they were trying to get rid of the principal. So in the book, they're trying to get rid of him. And he sits down with Teresa and says, listen, Teresa, are you going to be all right bringing your brother's medals to the school? And she says, yeah. Haven't you heard about PTSD? My brother went to Vietnam and he came back with all this PTSD stuff. And she says, nah, I'll be fine. Whoa, you read what happened to her when she took her medals to the children to look at. And you're going to see the PTSD that happened to her, another shocker. Okay. And then Tonantzin, that's La Virgen de Guadalupe. And the mother adores, of course, La Virgen de Guadalupe appeared to Juan Diego in 1531. And then Paul's girlfriend, that's the younger brother of Jesse, is a white woman with all kinds of tats. She had foster parents and everything. And yet she's a born-again Christian. So she's got a Bible in her hand. She's always trying to convert Paul because he's been in and out of prison. The whole family collapsed when Jesse left. He was the glue. He was why everybody was together. Paul went to pieces, in and out of prison. So all of these problems are happening. But you know what? The girlfriend, Donna, you're going to love Donna. You are going to love Donna. She becomes the first white woman to become a Guadalupana in the whole world. So she becomes a Guadalupana. So because she wants to be like Alicia. All right, I'm almost done. And then the parallel universe. My character, Michael. Is Michael Breeze here? Michael Breeze. No, he couldn't. You made it from Winslow? Stand up. We're going to clap for you because you made it from Winslow. Michael. Wow. Okay, thank you for being here. I named the genius character in Let Their Spirits Dance for Michael Breeze. Because you know what? I never can understand your mind, Michael. I'm serious. What in the world do you do? I mean, he calculates things. He's an attorney. Maybe it's a fate of the attorney. I don't know. But Michael always has something intellectual to tell you. And he will tell you things that you've never even thought about. Thank you for that, Michael. And so I said, I'm going to name my genius kid Michael in honor of Michael Breeze, my good friend. And I did. So here's Michael, named after Michael Breeze. And he has a very high IQ. He is the son of Paul, who's been in and out of prison. And Paul resents the kid because he's never brought him up. Priscilla, the younger sister, has been bringing him up. And he says, this is nothing but a smart aleck kid. And I wanted to stop the stereotype that the Mexican kids don't know how to speak English, and that's why you have to put them over here in the special class. And so Michael just defies all of that. And the old Jesse is out there somewhere, he said. And maybe the energy of his soul crossed orbits with Nana's. He introduces the family to all kinds of things, time warp, light, the universe, just like Michael. When I talk with him, I'm like, Michael, wait a minute, what did you just say? Okay, so Michael challenges the family, and there's a time between him and his father when his dad is kind of, mean with him. What a smart aleck. What is he talking about now? And he says, you know what, Dad? You should be nice to me. I might have to represent you in court someday. And he says, represent me? You'll probably send me to the electric chair. No, Dad, it's not done that way anymore. It's all injection. And Paul goes, how did I get stuck with a kid like this? But watch what's going to happen on the way to the wall between Michael and his dad. Watch what happens. All right, woo, St. Anthony's. Got to take a drink of water for that one. This is my old church, okay? And it looks just the same way. All right, when I was writing the book, I'm almost done now. When I was writing the book, I wanted to go up on the balcony because I used to sing there when I was a teenager. And, I was in high school in my 20s and so forth. I used to sing up in the old balcony. It's a very historic church. It's real old. But the church was locked. Why was it locked? Are you ready for this? Truth is stranger than fiction. It was locked because a priest had burned the altar to get insurance money for him and his lover. I'm serious. Not only did he burn St. Anthony's altar, he also burned Immaculate Hearts. He did damage, again, to get insurance money for him and his lover. And so I went and I told the priest, listen, can I get up to the balcony? Because I'm doing a scene from the balcony. And he said, yes, I will open the church for you. He was very nice. And so I went all the way up to the old balcony. This is where Alicia sings. She's a soloist for the choir. And she's up at the railing. And all behind her is the organist and all the choir. And Teresa's in the choir, her friends, and so forth. So the mother is singing, Bendito, bendito, bendito sea Dios. Los ángeles cantan y alaban a Dios. Blessed, blessed, blessed is God. The angels are praising him. So she's singing. She's a soloist. And then the choir chimes in. So then she sings the verse again, the chorus, and she says, Bendito, bendito, bendito. And she stops. And everybody's like, what happened? Teresa, what's wrong with your mom? Why did she stop? She's looking at the side entrance and she sees the priest coming in with a military man. She already knew her son was gone. And so did Teresa. They knew, that's why I say love is so strong. It tells you something happened. Love tells you this already happened. So when the mother sees the military man, she stops singing for over 30 years. And she begins this wail, no, not my son. God, why did you take my Miko? Why? Why? And then up outside on the rooftops, the rafters, the pigeons start cooing wildly. Who can stand to hear the cries of a mother who knows her son is no more? It took all I had to do that scene, I'm telling you. And I tell my writers, if you feel it, they will feel it too. Okay? And then here is the Moratorium March 1970. There's a picture of Ruben Salazar. And in the story, Teresa goes to the march. And she marches with the people because she's so much against the war. Her brother has been killed. And she says, as we moved, I began to feel full inside, as if the very act of marching was food for my soul. And then when they got to Laguna, if you've never seen the black and white clips of the march, you are going to go into another panic shock. They attack the people unmercifully. And Teresa gets hit on the head with a baton by one of the cops. It was helter-skelter. They were throwing tear gas at him. This was a peaceful protest. None of the Mexicanos had any weapons on them. And they kept telling the police, hold your line. We have no weapons. This is a peaceful march. Hold your line. And they went after him. They were after Ruben Salazar, who was the LA Times reporter that was talking about how brutally they were treating the Mexican Americans, the Chicanos. So they killed him that day with a projectile instrument, an instrument that goes through walls, and they killed him on that day. And then Kansas, this is the last scene I'm going to talk about. They're on their way, and they're going through Kansas, and there's an older cop there who's trying to show off in front of the rookie. And he says, oh, look at all these illegal immigrants. And they've got other people there. Willie Wong is on the trip. Gates, he's an African-American guy, indigenous people. By that time, they had collected all kinds of people. They were getting publicity. Why? Because Michael was on the internet with a little laptop keeping track of all the publicity. He was talking to reporters. Oh, this kid didn't stop, just like Michael Breeze. He didn't stop, on and on and on. He had the family in the public eye. So the rookie tells the police officer, listen, this is the family traveling to the Vietnam Memorial Wall. Haven't you heard? Haven't you seen them on TV? They're all over the place. And he says, what are you talking about? These guys should be on the other side of the border. So he stops Paul, because Paul is at the head. And you know Paul's been in prison. So he starts bad-mouthing Paul. Paul's not going to put up with it. So he bad-mouths the cop. So the cop takes him out of the car and he puts him up, he starts frisking him. And the rookie says, I'm telling you, there's going to be hell to pay. This is the family on the way to the wall. He says, the hell they are. So he starts frisking him. The mother is on the van right behind, and she sees what they're doing to her son. So she opens the door, and she goes out without her cane, walking towards her son, where her daughter's saying, Mom, no, Mom. They told us not to get down. And she walks and she puts her hands up like this, and she says, take us both. And she says, this country already took one of my boys, Mr. Policeman. You can't have the other one. Their peace was made between Paul and his mother, because he had always thought that his mother loved Jesse. She didn't love anybody else but Jesse. And his mother looks at him and says, Mijo, listen to me. If your name was on that wall, I would be making this trip for you, Mijo. And there was a reconciliation in tears between the mother and Paul. And I'd like to end with the words from, of course, Tony Cruz. There's a Vietnam Memorial Wall in D.C. Someday I'm going to be famous. You're going to read about me in a book. I'm going to make history. Again, thanks to the Cruz family for allowing me these words and his photo. You don't know what it means to me. It meant a lot to me. And I can say that I am filled with gratitude to have told a story of our men on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. And love conquers all things. That's what I write in all the books. Love conquers all things. I write these words because I believe that indeed love does not end at the grave. In fact, it does conquer all things. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you for being here with me for my presentation. Are we going to have question and answer questions? Any? Go ahead.
Yeah, if anyone would like, we have a microphone available if anybody has any questions for Stella.
Or comments, a memory. Veterans, did I make any mistakes? Go ahead and tell. Oh, I did? No, I'm serious. As far as the facts and figures of the Vietnam War, I think those were okay. No, I'm serious. I want to know. So come on up if you want to ask. Or you have a memory of what was going on during that time. Anybody have a memory of what was happening to you personally during that time? No? Okay. Wow. Michael? I'm picking up. Michael, can you say anything about war? You can say it from there. Okay. What's okay? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. They were never the same again. So that was correct. They were never the same again. And you're a veteran. Daniel, did you want to make any comment? Okay, right. Yes. Anybody else? Yes. Oh, Bernadette. Oh, Bernadette. My beloved Bernadette. Yeah. Wow. I was there. He described Vietnam as a hell. He never talked about it? And I know her brother to this day. Wow. Talk about PTSD, huh? Anyone else have anything to share? Did you have some? I see somebody saying something to somebody. Okay. Yes. Uh huh. Wow. Yes, todo lo soporta. Everything. Love can handle everything and anything. That's a beautiful way to put it. And Dr. Cuadras, anything that you have? Uh huh. Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Wow. All his life he would not talk. I'm glad you mentioned Agent Orange. Yeah, oh, the germ. Yeah, because Agent Orange caused a lot of cancer. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have?
I'm Dr. Bill Brainerd, and I was a doctor in Japan in the Vietnam War. And I was so impressed with those 18 to 22-year-olds and their courage.
Yes.
One story that's I have a hard time telling, just about a young Marine who was brought in on a helicopter. We had a 1,000-bed hospital, and he had lost one arm, one leg, and one eye. And his first questions to me as I was triaging him off the helicopter was, "Hey, Doc, can you get me back stateside in time to start law school?"
Wow.
That's the courage and the tenacity that those young men deserved, that deserved much more reverence than they got when they came back stateside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't say what they had to face when they got home. You know what they had to face. People didn't believe them. They were baby killers, and they had a hard time. They didn't come back to somebody that welcomed them with open arms. I'm glad you mentioned that, and thank you for sharing that. Anyone else that has anything? Okay, I think. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And there's cookies and lemonade or something out there for you guys. And my books are out there. Once more, muchísimas gracias. Thank you.